On this episode of the Wise Counsel Project, we interview Jeff Foxworthy, comedian, actor, author, and host of Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader and the American Bible Challenge. Join us as Jeff provides wise counsel to men and women of faith. Okay, we're here at the Wise Counsel Project, and joining me is Jeff Foxworthy. Jeff, I know an amazing success, a comedian, I believe the #1 selling comedy album of all time.
Yeah,
is that right?
That sold more comedy records than anybody in history,
including Bill Cosby, which is
that's just weird. It should be Cosby and not me.
And obviously, great success on TV. Host of the Bible Challenge,
American Bible Challenge.
How's that going?
It's #1 show on the network, which is kind of funny because it's a show about the Bible and it's not a faith-based network. But
I have a new theme for you. Are you smarter than a TV lawyer? Let's try that one.
Well, people would always, when I started hosting Fifth Grader, they always thought I was smarter than I was. And I said, no, I'm not Alex Trebek. If I didn't have the blue cards, that'd be the shortest show on television. Well,
love the show. And quite a success, too.
Yeah.
The American Bible
I've been
Challenge.
very lucky. Yeah, it's, like I said, it's the #1 show. And, yeah, you know, it's a fun thing. When they first called and said, and it was based on Fifth Grader because that was so successful. They said, would you consider doing something like that about the Bible? And my gut instinct, I said, I don't think so. I didn't want to be in line in hell looking up going, it was the game show, right? That's
you hear the buzzer?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeff.
But, you know, I went back and thought about it. And the only people Jesus got sideways with, the only people were the Pharisees because they had all the head knowledge. They knew everything that's said, but they had no heart knowledge.
Right.
And so I went back to them and I said, to me it feels weird to reward people just for what they know. I said, I'll do the show, but nobody can keep the money. They got to take whatever they win and they got to go love on somebody else with it.
But think of the difference that money's making out there for
well,
others.
And here's the cool thing. These people that are doing this, they're doing it anyway, whether they're on our show or not. To me, what we're doing is giving them a platform, to show other people, hey, there's other people out there doing these kind of things in their community. But the first show we ever taped, there were 3 women in Plano, Texas that were running a food pantry out of their kitchen door,
wow,
just feeding people in their neighborhood. And so they won the week and they won $20,000. So we go to commercial and I look over and this lady's just sobbing. And I go over and I put my arm around her and I said, you okay? She said, do you know what that is? She said, that's 80,000 meals for people that weren't going to eat. And
that's a huge
what other
difference.
Game shows doing that?
Yeah.
You know, feeding 80,000 meals to people. So it's a fun deal.
Well, congrats on what you're doing. Congrats on the success. And everybody knows about your success in the comedy arena. But I don't know if people really have an understanding of Jeff Foxworthy, the man of faith. And I'd love to kind of tap into that here, if we may.
You know, I've always had faith. I was lucky. I had a mom that, you know, we grew up going to church. And it's funny. I got saved when I was 7 years old.
7 years old. And I understand your mom didn't believe.
Yeah,
that
my
you were
mom
ready
didn't.
for it.
I was like, Mom, I'm going down. She's got me by the shirt. She's like, no, you're too young. You don't know what you're doing. And I guess I was always a pretty persuasive arguer. So to the point that she had the pastor come over to the house and he sat down and talked with me and he went in the kitchen and said he knows what he's doing, you know. So.
And y'all went to the church that night, I understand.
Yeah, I said we're going back tonight. I didn't want the world to end that day, and I hadn't gone down, but I also had a dichotomy because I would look at so many people, and this is still my struggle in the church. You got so many people on Sunday that think that it's about their performance and their behavior, and these people were so, you know, don't drink, don't smoke, don't cuss, you walk like this, act like this, talk like this, and I wasn't wired that way. Mm-hmm. I was like, and that was a dichotomy for me because I thought, okay, to love God, you got to walk like that, and I'm kind of made like that. And it took me a long time in life to finally, you know, to hear God going, I know you're like that because I put you together. And yeah. It's funny, you know, to me, gratitude is such an important thing in life. But one of the things I thank God for all the time is that He's infinitely creative. And so if you think about how many different bugs and how many different plants and how many different fish and how many different animals that He made. I mean, if you told me to design plants, I'd run out of ideas after 5. And so I thought, well, if everybody's alike, how boring would that be for an infinitely created God? Why do we try to do that to people, to make them, because we're all uniquely made. And so when I finally got to the point that He said, hey, I know you're like that, and I got a place for you. And so even to this day, I don't like to go talk to churches. I like to go talk to people that were burned by churches. Right. You know, I do a Bible study at the Atlanta Mission every week for homeless guys.
And I want to talk to you about that because I know you're involved in two Bible studies.
But to me, they weren't pretending to be something that they weren't.
And so many people think, hey, I'll start going to church when I can get my life together. That's not the time.
It's never going to happen. You're not going to get your life together. You know, even the people that the cry of their heart is to have their life together struggle. You know, that's my wife and I were talking about that last night. I said, I try to remember every single person I meet is in some kind of struggle. Mm-hmm. Some of them are good at camouflaging it and you never see it, but everybody's in a struggle. And you're not ever going to get to the point where you have it all together. In fact, you probably don't have a chance to get it together.
And I think you're at the greatest point where you can really see the influence of Christ when you realize, hey, I don't have it together, and I understand that.
But nobody does. You know, and it's the thing I guess I learned from comedy as a comedian. You always think, what do we have in common? I remember early on being at the Punchline in Atlanta, and this comic from New York was doing all these subway jokes, and nobody was laughing. And he came off stage, he said, these people are stupid. Yeah. And I said, no, they're not. We just don't have subways, so we don't know what you're talking about. But the one thing that every single person has in common, every single person wants to be loved, and every single person wants to be significant. And, you know, and I see this so much at the mission. So many of us get messed up early in life, whether it's growing up in a household without parents or with a missing parent or some type of abuse, whether it's emotional or physical or sexual. We get jacked up early in life. And you can only hurt so long, then you start numbing it in some way. Alcohol, drugs, whatever it might be. But that's the cry of all of us. We all want to be loved and we want to be significant. And that's why I think that it's the most amazing piece of literature ever written. It's a paragraph. It's the Prodigal Son story. Luke 15, if you want to go look it up. But you realize it's not about how bad our behavior is, how bad our performance is, or how good it is. The message of that story, it's not even about the son, it's about the father. And the father goes, no matter how bad you are, I can't love you less, and no matter how good you are, I can't love you anymore. This is who I am. I just love you and everything I have is yours. And if that ever sinks into people, when you realize, hey, okay, I didn't get it here from my dad, or I didn't get it growing up, but I'm loved, and this is how significant I am. I'm so significant to God that He let His perfect Son die for me, to pay the price for me. And to me, that's what I imagine heaven like. It's like a courtroom, and all these things are being read off, your shortcomings and your failings. And Jesus holding His hand up going, I already paid for that.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Wise Counsel Project. If you enjoyed it, please consider rating us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio. And for more information about the Wise Counsel Project, visit us on the web, wisecounselproject.com. You can also follow me on Twitter @Gary Martin Hayes. Thanks for listening, and God bless.